Thank you for inviting me here today to this innovation event. My name is Mathias Holmgren, and I work for a consultancy company in Stockholm called CRISP. We are a self-managed organization, small one. And what I'm going to share with you today is the concept of locations. And as I understand, you're really excited about trying this out, which is super cool. Most of what I'm going to say here today is based on the work of Bonita Roy. I'm going to give you some references if you want to learn more about it later at the end of the talk. Let's dig in. So what is a location? Well, you can think of it as a place that has a purpose. So in organizations, we factor what we need to be done to teams, to departments. In this philosophy, we factor that to a location, a place. And that place attracts participation through its attraction. So that's kind of like the fundamental principle here. You participate openly through your choice, and that's the basis. And at a location, there's some sort of value that's created. Some sort of value exchange, energy, something that's needed or wanted, something that has skills or resources. There's some form of transfer with the surroundings. About decision making, the location, you make decisions at the location. So there's local governance, which also means that there's strategic choice. So how we relate to the outside is part of the location as well. Okay, so this is not such a far-fetched idea, actually. We have these things all around us. So imagine a city, right? You can go to the dog park with your dog. Or you can go to the local boxing dojo, right? Where it's okay to hit somebody in the mouth, right? You wouldn't do that at the local dog park, hopefully. And you may go to the market, right? And there's certain behavior that's kind of okay there. There's kind of a rule set that goes with where you are. You kind of take the custom. If you travel abroad, you go with a custom. You go with the local custom. It's kind of like that with locations. So imagine an organization built like that. A location is always part of a larger whole, in a sense. So what we do relates to others. They're not here, right, at this location. So I'm going to give you a bit of a challenge here. Imagine you are at your local workplace today. And finish this sentence for me mentally. So we have too much work to do. And our strategy to deal with that is to blank. Okay, what are some of the first things that come up? Don't answer me. So I'm going to give you 4 choices, and you may see if one of these kind of resonate with what comes for you. You know what? We need to gain access to new innovating technology, ideas, things we don't have. We just need to get that, and that will be much more, that's going to solve our problems strategically. Or you may think we just need to adapt what we do to meet our opportunities or just become more effective. We just got to work in a better way. Or you may say, you know what, we need to create the support for more funding and grow to our potential. We should focus strategically on that. Some of you may think we need to let something go. We need to release some of our attention, some of our efforts, and incubate them so something new can come to be, maybe later. So how many here had an answer that's something in line with A? Hand up. 1? Okay. How about B? Couple more. How about C? Very few. How about D? Okay, so half of you basically had no answer. That's interesting. But what these can be, you can see this as strategic orientations, right? We all have biases, how we solve problems. And I mentioned that locations exist in relation to its surroundings. That means that what we do when we're faced with challenges like this that relates to the outside environment, we have that strategic choice. And a good way to make good strategic decisions is to integrate multiple orientations like this and also experience our surroundings so we have that as a context that's kind of lived, felt when we make decisions strategically at a location. That's a really good practice. So here's the city, right? There's a boundary and there's something surrounding the city. But the boundary is not really something that's closed. It's kind of open, right? There's something that can move. That's kind of like how cities work, right? In and out. And if you extend that to something beyond, you can say, well, we have cities of cities, and cities of cities of cities. You realize it's a fractal nature to this, right? And cities attract people, and people kind of attract the cities, or how does that really work? Who's actually moving whom? So you realize at this scale, there's really no outside. We're just kind of participating, right? All right, let's shift gears a bit. What would locations mean for the individual? Well, there's going to be natural engagement, right? I'm not forced by obligation to do it. I do it because I decide to, and I actively participate based on my open free will. That's a lot of freedom. Freedom of mobility, which means I can probably not going to be everywhere all the time, right? I'm going to find a home location and maybe part-time contribute somewhere else. But there also comes some personal accountability to this. Other people need to trust me, right? I rely on relationship with others and interdependence for us to accomplish something together. So the choices I make have consequences for trust. And also, where's my contribution going to be best? Where's the best contribution for me and people I relate to? That's on you as the individual. Now, if we shift that to the organization, if you will, well, it's kind of like building an organization like an open space session. How many here have been on an open space session before? You know what it is? Okay, some of you. You kind of like have stations and you go and talk about different topics and you vote with your feet, and if it's not the right place for you right now, you can go to a different place as long as you're learning or contributing. Okay? This is kind of like the same thing with an organization, right? You could also see it as that we're deliberately designing locations as a dynamic asset, meaning each location has the potential for growing and receding based on how we value the work that could be done there. The value transfer and the engagement levels, there's something of valuing having that as a structure. So what happens is, if an organization is built kind of like that, it would dynamically change based on the exchange of skills and wants and needs and resources, and dynamically, which you could call that strategic agility, but it's also the potential for a lot of novelty to be injected in the organization. So in that sense, if you need a metaphor, it would be something like a platform where we can participate and dynamically do what we feel is the best contribution. All right, so how do you do this? Well, some practical tips. Create the why. What does good work look like here? What is it that makes it this good work? And why is it valuable to whom? Really kind of get into that. A lot of times the things that we normally do in organizations is not actually the thing that's valued, and just kind of drill into that and get clarity there. Second thing is get really clear about attraction. So one good thing is, well, what is it that makes this place attractive to whom? What is it that makes the dog park attractive? What is it that makes the dojo attractive, right? And for whom? Who would genuinely enjoy participating there and really do a good job? And be really honest about how we communicate that, because it needs to be communicated cleanly. So we don't put anything in there that's actually not attractive, right? Repellent even. For the right people, it should be attractive, right? That's the key. All right, so then you go on and create a starting position. I'm going to share with you some things from the field that I've learned and experienced myself. So this is Jens. Jens was the manager at business unit, you could say, at HiQ Stockholm. It's a consultancy company, 550 plus people. And in the office, there's one unit that was called the Project Bureau, the Bureau, I guess. Tongue-in-cheek name. But he got a different job. He was going to do something else for the organization. And during this time, there was a lot of interest and engagement around these ideas. And one of those people who thought this was really interesting and worth trying was Magnus Gudén, who's the CEO of HiQ Stockholm. So he walked down there one day and said, hey, you know, Jens is going to do something else. So instead of replacing Jens, maybe we should try these ideas. Maybe we should create a location and see if it can kind of manage itself through the people who just participate there. And this was a place where a lot of people were coming and going. A lot of consultants and a lot of other people just coming, and the next day maybe, or the next week, they wouldn't be there anymore. So let's try it, he said. So we created what was called Labet later, the lab. So what did we do? Well, you can't just get rid of managers, okay? I know at least one big high-profile company in Sweden who tried that. Doesn't work. What you need to do is you need to replace the protocols, and the reason for that is managers do a lot of useful work. There's governance, decision-making, there's strategic activities, there's work. There's a lot on their shoulders. You can't just remove that. That doesn't work. But you can find a way to get that work done in a different way. So we interviewed Jens. What did you do every day? What were the decisions you were making? Who were the people you were in contact with? Why was that important? What was the strategic work you did? And we just made a list. So the first obvious one was, well, Jens made decisions, and he's not here anymore, so we need to find a way to make decisions that really, you know, the hard ones, hard decisions that this is the way we're going to do it. So the first decision we made was how to make a decision, which is kind of fun. It was kind of like bootstrapping governance in a way. So we did that, and we found a way to do it that we agreed on, and then we practiced that a few times, and then people were like, okay, we can make a decision. I feel good about this. Check. We use consent decision-making with some elements of asking for advice in certain situations, etc. And yeah, that worked. Another thing Jens did was when new people arrived, he kind of took care of them and onboarded them. You know, new people don't know what's going on. There was a need to embrace that and make everybody feel welcome and getting up to speed. So instead of creating a role for that and saying, you know, we're going to have a round-robin role, we were going to say, you know what, we're just going to make it part of the physical location. Just like the governance board, put it on the wall. So you can, here's the instructions for how to do an onboarding. And we'd made decisions about how to do that. We also had some activities to get people up to speed so they were comfortable doing that. So when somebody showed up that needed an onboarding, you can just grab this piece of paper, grab somebody who's at the location, and just do the onboarding. Check that off. Then there was the case of people needed to call Jens. I need to call Jens, see what's going on, what's happening. And he wouldn't pick up the phone anymore, right? So again, we didn't want to have a round-robin system or an extra phone or something. We just, hey, we're going to go old school on this one, right? And we really loved this one. This was a lot of fun. It really had even one of those old ringtones, you know? So anybody who wanted could call that, and if somebody answered, that's fine. And if there's nobody there, that's all they needed. So the people who needed to call, they were really happy about this. Those were some ideas. Here's a different case. This is a strategic leadership team at a department inside another organization. And what we wanted to do, they wanted to have more strategic conversations. They wanted to open up that work to be performed as a team, and, you know, invite people who were interested in that conversation. So what we did was we used visualization, so kind of like the 4 strategic areas I asked you about, the orientations. We had one board for each of those, and we had a rhythm to have these conversations, to relate to the outside, experience the outside, and kind of relate to what's happening at this location. Yeah, so here are the boards. We made one board for each strategic orientation, I guess. And obviously these can be rebuilt and changed, and they changed several times. All right, so let's start to sum up a little bit here. So one key idea is make the location smart. So what I mean by that is the intention that we had was, say, what if the smartest person in the room is the room itself, right? If we want to allow mobility, if we have a fixed role, like you're the decision maker, then it's hard for that person to be somewhere else, right? The location loses a functional aspect of being effective. So what if we build that in, maybe even physically, right? That's some of the patterns here. Also, authenticity is important, that other people relate on the work you do, and they rely on it, and you rely on them. That needs to be transferred into human face-to-face conversation. And really, tapping into the human trust that we are born with using. And for the value-added work, of course, we can use Kanban boards or whatever you guys need. I think we have that part down. So if you do that, then a smart location kind of holds itself up. It becomes a structure that makes it easier to participate openly like this. Now, if you want to do this, a good mindset is just have an invitation to explore. What would it mean if we tried doing this? It'd be genuinely okay if it doesn't pan out and doesn't work, right? You can't force it. You can't say, we're supposed to succeed at this. It needs to be, an honest invitation to explore. So a good question could be, well, if this location kind of was capable of managing itself through people who are there or participating at least part-time, what would make it fail? What wouldn't work? And kind of tick that off and problem solve and see if you can run out of objections eventually, which we did. That was kind of like a big gut check, like, wow, we're looking for reasons why it wouldn't work, and we're kind of running out of reasons. Maybe we should start thinking about what we need to do to kind of really get going for real. All right, so some advice for starting. Just to sum up, get clear on the why and why the location would be attractive for the right person, who that would be, genuinely. Make sure there's a governance process early. Train people to understand what strategic work means and how to relate to the environment. And just be honest about the what-if attitude, and be kind and patient. The last part there can be a challenge. And that's it. If you want to learn more, again, this is the work of Bonita Roy. There's a lot of things she's written that can be accessed on Medium. I recommend that. If you're really interested, you should get in contact with some of the work that's done in APP Associates International. And that's all I have. So thank you, and good luck.